We are big fans of Cozy Earth in this house. We have a set of their sheets and they are my favorite. They are extra cooling, so soft. It's such a luxury when I get into bed with freshly made Cozy Earth bedding. And we are thrilled to announce that Cozy Earth is partnering with the Less Than Expert podcast and offering our listeners an exclusive 41% off any product on their site. And that we have discovered can be stacked with any other promo that they are running. The other great benefit of Cozy Earth is any of their bedding and bath products have a 10-year warranty. That is how committed they are to their product. So take advantage of this exclusive offer and order your Cozy Earth product today. Visit cozyearth.com and enter the promo code LTE, all capital letters, at checkout. Introducing Copper North, where wellness works and luxury lasts through every night's sleep. These unique pillowcases are crafted from pure silk, not that fake plastic that they say is the silk pillowcase. These are truly 100% mulberry silk and infused with copper, which is nature's multitasker for healthier skin and hair. So, copper is a natural antibacterial and collagen boosting material. It's going to help soften fine lines, reduce inflammation and breakouts, and help maximize your skincare. Because if you're like me, you prioritize those skincare products. Don't stop there by sleeping on a pillow that is probably covered in dust mites. Gross. Copper is antimicrobial and it will also kill dust mites. And it's great for your hair. It's going to help reduce frizz, keep your hair silky and smooth, and it's going to protect your blowout as long as possible. If you're like me and you only wash your hair once or twice a week, you really want to maximize how long that clean hair lasts. And so we are thrilled to be able to offer our listeners a 15% discount. Visit coppernorth.com and enter all caps LTE in the promo code at checkout for your 15% discount. We're joined today by two friends of the podcast, Kate and Nuri. Both work at a major tech company that focuses on helping people find meaningful work. And both happen to ask for demotions at the same time, completely independently of each other. So we couldn't wait to get them on the podcast. Their day to day is so deeply connected to hiring and burnout and managing people in a modern workplace. So they had a lot to share about what it looks like and what it means to step back professionally, to reset your boundaries, and redefine success on your own terms. And we've done a lot of research for this episode. And we've had several follow up conversations with friends and family and even strangers, looking at you, who I just met at Leona. And it sounds like there are a lot of people who are either wanting to do this or have already taken action to accomplish this. So we will be doing future interviews on this new flex of taking a step back, how to do it, what it looks like. And I cannot wait for you to hear this episode. So let's get into it. All right. Welcome back to the Less Than Expert podcast. Thank you for joining us today. We have some very special guests with us. I am here with two friends of mine we go way back, like 10, I don't know, 10 years, something like that. Our husbands, we have to thank for this one. You guys get this one for playing Australian rules football. Shout out to the Crows. And we just all clicked and started having kids at the same time. And we've gone through a lot of life together. So these two recently made some big life changes, and I have been chomping at the bit to introduce y'all to Katie and to get you here to talk through this. So welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for
Appreciate
having
it.
us.
So I want to give everybody a little grounding in what you do. So you're both in Austin, working for a large tech company, both working in marketing. I mentioned a second ago, we started families about the same time. Actually, like literally had our sons back to back. You threw a curveball daughter in there, and then our daughters back to back. So big life changes. And we were at dinner a few months ago, and you both individually, separately chatted out of nowhere of you've taken a step back at work.
Yes.
Can we like that? It was like the most exciting. I was like, well, this is going on the podcast. Let's talk about this because I think I'm hearing that more and more. And I still can't believe you both worked for the same company and did this completely individually of each other. So who wants to go first? Like when did this start to kind of come up in your mind? And Let's dig into what that was starting to look like for you.
Sure. Yeah, I can go first. I do remember that moment because we were getting ready. We were doing Pilates
Yeah.
together. We chat. I feel like we all chat all the time for the
Yeah.
most part, but we had like 2 seconds. You couldn't make dinner. And it
Yeah.
was like, how are you? And I'm like, I have to
Yeah.
tell you, I just told my boss I want to step back into an individual contributor role. And you're like, me too.
Yes.
Like, what? And then you were basically like, we
I
gotta
was
talk
like,
about this. What's
"We're
going on?
save it for the pod. Tell me
Yeah.
everything, but save it
There
for
you
the
go.
pod." Yeah.
I would say for me, like it's like you said, we
Yeah.
started families
Yeah.
around the same time. It happened to be during COVID. I had my first in 2020. That was just a crazy time. So I feel like life changing, just lots of things happening there. I think for me, there were a few different things that were kind of like light bulb moments.
Mhm.
I think we all have kind of that like family management or household
Yeah.
management where it's just like, oh my God, this is a lot more work than I was
Right.
thinking, from managing my kids to managing for me, I have parents who are both ill, not well, dealing with some of that.
Mhm.
My husband runs a business, as you
Right.
know, and so that's we've had very frank conversations, and
Yeah.
he's an amazing father, but he said before, like, I can't be a 50-50 parent
Yeah.
if we're going to take this to the next level.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of tough. And then work wise, I mean, I feel like also know you chime in, but
Yeah.
working in tech, working in marketing in this time frame that we were in,
Mm.
it's just things have changed a lot.
Mhm.
At the time, I was managing a team of maybe 6
Okay.
people.
Yeah.
I think maybe like 50% of them
Yeah.
were low performing, 50% were high performing.
Okay.
And that came with a lot of challenges of low performers who, in my situation,
Mhm.
they weren't coachable. I
So this
couldn't.
was a team you inherited, or were you building this team? What was that like?
It,
Yeah, I know.
I would say that's a great
Yeah.
question. Mostly inherited.
Okay.
I think the people that I had hired that were high performers that were doing
Mhm.
great, I couldn't necessarily retain them.
Mhm.
I couldn't keep
That's
them
really hard.
happy. And that's really difficult. I will also say I was in a more middle management role, which
Yeah.
is also difficult.
Yes.
So navigating all of these changes that
Yes.
I had zero control over and
Yeah.
trying to keep a team happy. So not being able to retain people, absorbing their work.
Yeah,
Um,
because your company, just being a big tech company, you're also subject to layoffs and to upper management decisions where they don't understand what your team's doing.
for sure.
A lot of that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just
Yeah.
kind of a cog in the wheel, and
Right.
that's okay. But I think for me, my trigger was family stuff and things that are not necessarily unique
Okay.
to anyone. Aside work, it was dealing with people issues,
Mhm.
absorbing their work and doing
Mhm.
their work a lot of times, and
Oh, yeah.
realizing I actually kind of like doing this work. I'm dreading the
Okay.
one-on-one. I'm dreading the performance conversation. I'm dreading these things where it was getting to the point where it was like, this is detrimental to these people that I'm in
Right.
charge of. I know there's people that I work with who want my role or
Yeah.
want a people management role.
Right.
So what am I doing? So it was kind of wrestling that back and forth of I still like elements of what I'm doing and
Right.
like absorbing work
Mhm.
and actually doing it.
Mhm.
I was feeling fulfilled, where
Yeah.
managing the team, I was coming out of the day just like a zombie. I was
Yeah.
short with everyone. I
Yeah.
wasn't learning anything. I wasn't growing. And it
Mhm.
just felt like a
Stress.
spiral. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just full burnout.
And were you in the same kind of in the same setup, right? Because same timing for you, really.
Yeah, so my biggest triggers were I came back from my third parental leave
Mhm.
in January 2025. And by March, my manager at the time, who I was lucky enough to have the most amazing manager managing me,
Yeah.
and she was like, okay, been back a couple months, like, let's
Mhm.
have that conversation of what's next for you. You've
Mhm.
always really enjoyed managing people. I had a great team. But when I came back, great team aside,
Mhm.
managing people is really hard.
Mhm.
And I manage 3 very little
Yeah.
people already, and then I
Yeah.
manage a husband as
Right.
well,
Yeah.
and I
Oh my
manage
god, yeah.
our entire
Yeah.
life at home,
Yes.
and
And for the record, volunteers at the daycare, the schools.
yeah, and
Aw,
that stuff,
nice.
I
Yeah.
do, like, I like
Yeah.
to be the room mom.
Yeah.
I knew that my son was transitioning schools this year, so there was just a lot, coming up, and my manager, like I
Yeah.
said, was amazing. And so she's like, where do you want to go, where do you want to spend your
Yeah.
time? And I kind of was like, I'll be honest, haven't really thought about it because I
Yeah.
don't really think about work that much when I'm not at work. And she was like, well, let me tell you what I've seen from you. And she called me out.
Yeah.
She was basically like, I feel like you have your strengths in these
Mhm.
areas of work, but
Mhm.
that the management is sucking life out of you. And so that was a light bulb moment for me of like, wow. So that's, me better than I know myself when it
Yeah.
comes to work. So I was lucky enough to have a
Yeah.
manager that I knew if we could make it work on our
Yeah.
team with me stepping back and someone else stepping up,
Yeah.
that could work. And then the other thing I thought to myself, because I also had been managing people for years, and I was like,
Mhm.
wow, is this going to take a step back for my career as a whole, whatever. But then I also thought, my direct reports deserve a manager as good as I have.
Yeah.
Was I in a brain space to be able to manage those people as
Yeah.
well and start, recognizing their strengths and weaknesses
Mhm.
again and where they want to be? And the answer was no. And so I took that to heart and really thought, like, it's time. And it took a couple months and performance evaluations and reviews and
Mhm.
getting other people promoted and this and that. But then when it was able to happen and the conversations took place about actually taking a step back, I was so grateful
Yeah.
that she kind of, lack of better words, called me out.
Yeah.
So I was really lucky in that sense that I had someone who I knew would support me.
I'm listening to this and I still am like shocked that both of you did it at the same time. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess family wise, it made sense for you both at the same time. But I know personally in my where I work, I would be afraid of actually asking for this or
Yeah.
so I'm just curious, does your company openly suggest if you want to do this you can? Or is it kind of a
I don't think
technically
so.
scary thing? Okay.
No, and I do think too, it is worth noting. We are friends and we've
Mhm.
gone through becoming parents and dealing with these stresses. So I
Mhm.
think that's always been there of how do we do all of this? Like this
Mhm.
is really hard. I'm really struggling. Um, but for me, because I did approach my manager and I think I kind of knew this wasn't the right fit for me for a while, the people management piece. I don't know that I've ever really loved it, but
Mhm.
it's always been ingrained in me of keep moving up, keep
Yes,
going.
I
And
wanted to get to
so
that
I
too.
think that was just that's always been my mentality. Like, don't
Yeah.
quit a job without another job,
Mhm.
just keep going,
Right.
work through it. And it was more this self reflection of, I am not happy. And it
Yeah.
was more of like, am I happy? Like, am I happy with anything in this company and in this role?
Yeah.
Or is it time to move on? And that's also scary.
Yeah.
So for me, it was that kind of self realization of, I do like elements of my job
Mhm.
and I don't actually look at it as a step back. It's just more a step in a different direction because I
Right.
think also too for me I'm at a place where I don't know necessarily what I want to do next and
Mhm.
I don't think I don't have the time right now or the mental
Mhm.
space to
Definitely not.
figure it
And the
out.
capacity,
But
yeah.
Right?
exactly.
And
Smart
we've
too.
we've talked about that a lot. I mean, we use the terminology like the daycare years. We know that, and don't quote me on this if I ever don't have a job, but you know, not to speak for Kate, but we've
Yeah.
also said we enjoy working.
Right.
Like the stay-at-home life full time, stay-at-home mom life full time isn't necessarily for us. It is a very, very, very
Yeah.
incredibly difficult
Yeah.
job, and hence why it's not for me. And so we kind of are in this rock and a hard place where it's like this job that I am or was doing isn't perfect. The stay-at-home mom life isn't perfect. Daycare costs money.
Mhm.
And so for the next couple of years, if we can hold on to our jobs at our company,
Mhm.
um, with a turbulent economy, then that would be a smart financial decision for
But
us.
you and your husband, so obviously great team, like in every sense of the word. So this was a discussion you would have had with Benny,
Mm,
right? Was there a number? You don't have to give a number, but
mm.
was there a certain sense of security that you needed of like I can pull back or if I have the conversation and I get fired or laid off, worst case scenario, this is where we are and this is
Mhm.
okay?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I will say I am very lucky in that sense of we have savings and
Mhm.
and
You had runway.
yes,
Okay.
our conversation, and I knew that the conversation between my husband Benny and I would not be about money.
Mhm.
It would be about responsibilities.
Mhm.
My husband values work, and my husband really values working hard
Right.
and not backing off when things are hard. And my husband is amazing,
Mhm.
and I would be lying if I said I wouldn't want to make him proud, because I do, because he's a great judge of character and I want to be more like him. And so when I was making these decisions, I was thinking, what would Benny do? I think that to myself all the time. Or am I backing off because it's too hard?
Mhm.
Or is it just too much work? Or am I just wanting to spend more time not working?
Mhm.
Because those, not saying those aren't valid reasons, but those aren't my values either. I like working hard and working towards a goal. So I had to think about that. And where I landed was I needed the emotional capacity to work hard for my family at
Yeah.
home and be a better mom and a partner. That is a lot of
That's work.
that's work.
Yeah.
It takes emotional capacity, and not spending it on managing people that, to Kate's point, can't really move up sometimes, like
Mhm.
where our company sits. I was spending so much emotional capacity trying to make these people feel okay about their position when I knew
Mhm.
they could not get a promotion in the next 3 years
Yeah, I struggle
because
with
of
that.
just where we're
Yeah.
at. And so it's
Yeah.
like, where, maybe they could have a better manager that not necessarily could get them promoted, but would
Mhm.
do the work to grow them in other ways. Whereas
Mhm.
I had managed them for so long at this point, their growth was topped out with me. They
Yeah.
needed something
Mhm.
different, and then I needed something different as well.
Mhm.
So when I went to my husband, that was the conversation.
Yeah.
And he said, I mean, the first thing out of his mouth, and I knew he would, was, don't do this because it's too hard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Don't back off. I don't care about the money.
Right.
I want you to do what is best for you and what you think is best for our family, and
Mhm.
I trust you. And so I was very lucky in that,
Yeah.
and I felt really, really supported, because I do deep down feel like I, and my husband agrees, I am carrying a lot
Yeah.
when it comes to home and still having a full-time job.
Mhm.
So luckily, I mean, let's be honest, if it was a 50% cut, we couldn't swing
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
but I did
Yeah.
know the number. And
Okay.
so in that sense, we knew we could swing it.
Yeah. I think that's so important and why I want to dig into on what was the runway and what did you need? Because two income with kids, that's helpful. The biggest piece is having the self-awareness and the courage to be honest with yourself of I don't want to climb the corporate ladder. I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom because that I would be the meanest. Like just getting
I don't have the patience.
No.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't
I would lose my mind.
I need to be
Yeah.
with
So
adults.
kudos to people.
So,
Yeah.
like and I think that is there's all of that's healthy. I think there's some women who
Sure.
Well, and it's
you know,
good to know that about yourself.
that
So.
and that's my
Yeah.
point, right? Is like to be free enough. And I think when you're working in corporate America and we're all elder millennials raised a certain way of how you achieve and how things get rewarded, and to be able to say I don't think I want that, or maybe I want that later, I don't know, but this isn't it. And then to be able to take that step back and to have the courage, that is so freeing for women in particular. It's not to say men don't have this experience too, but I think as moms, we go through this differently in how we feel and our
There's
hormones
a
and our
different emotional
yeah.
piece, I think, when you're a female. When
Yeah.
it comes to being there for your family, I don't know.
Yes,
Eh,
and there's pressure in not taking a step back, not harming the collective, the women as a collective of like, we
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
achieve, right? But also, you both have the self awareness of, I'm not doing right by my team if I'm not taking the step back. And that is
Mhm.
such a big deal. And why I think people need to hear this of that you
Yeah.
were able to do this and everything's okay. Right.
Yeah. Everything's okay. And I think I wasn't sure when I came to the decision or the realization of this is what I want to do. I basically had to have a talk with Christian, and he'd been encouraging me over the years,
Hmm.
honestly. Take a step back, do something different, leave this company. They don't care about you. Like those
Yeah.
those types of things.
But coming to the realization of actually, I want to be in an individual contributor role.
Mhm.
I didn't know if that was possible. We'd heard about it from some people who, but they
Mhm.
became contractors, right? And
It was
so
a different beast with health insurance
exactly.
Right.
benefits,
Yeah. So
that, yeah.
it's kind of like once I said it out loud and was like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Mhm.
It was more of the realization of like, I might also have to leave the company.
Mhm.
And are we okay with that? Right. And I think
Mhm.
we'd been financially talking about layoffs are happening
Mhm.
in tech, in the space, at least once a year, if not
Mhm.
more. So we'd kind of been talking through that. Marketing is often first to
Oh,
be
yeah.
cut. So we'd
Oh,
been
yeah.
kind of prepared
We
for
feel
that.
like just this.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Beware if you
Yeah.
want marketing.
Yeah.
But I was very lucky. I have a really good relationship with my manager at the time. She's still my manager now. And when I brought this to her, she had said, I knew something was off, right? Because I had kind of been like, how do I push forward and get to that
Mhm.
next step? And I wasn't really doing that. I think she
Mhm.
could tell that I was unhappy, but didn't know why. She
Mhm.
was extremely supportive and she's like, I don't know if this is possible. We're going to have to figure it out.
Mhm.
I don't think she also fully understood. I don't know if she still fully understands
Mhm.
why. We just, I think, have a different mentality on work and what success looks like.
Right.
But she's been hugely supportive, and I'm very appreciative for
awesome.
that.
Hats off to supportive female
I know,
managers.
Yeah,
especially
for sure.
you both have different ones, and
Yeah.
they both sound amazing. Like,
Yeah.
both open to helping you figure out what you needed.
That's huge, and that the company has enough of a structure in place to get that approved. And so what did that look like? Pay cut, hour cut? How did that
Mm.
change with your team? How did your teams respond when you told your teams?
Tell us.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm sure that was very surprising to your teams, just the high
Yeah.
achieving women that you both are. And like, you both had your boys, nothing changed, right? You
Mhm.
went for round two, nothing changed. And then the daughters come into the picture, second, third kid, and that changed. I think that's so interesting too. I'd love to dig into that maybe a little bit.
Mm.
But how did your team respond? Because this feels like it would maybe come out of left field for them.
Yeah, I will say for my team, we had to do a little bit of internal shuffling around and figure out if I leave, would we be able to get a backfill? And the
Mhm.
answer was no, right? So it was, is there someone within our org who's ready
Mhm.
to step into your role, basically swap with
Mhm.
them? And we
But they would be
luckily,
getting a promotion.
they would be getting a promotion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's also the politics
Right.
around
Right.
that. So
Right.
how do you select that person?
Right.
Would the team
Exactly.
be supportive or would they be annoyed that, well, just because Kate wants to take a step back, then this
Right.
person gets promoted? How does
Yes.
that work?
Right.
Making that
Was
person
that
feel
person the
valued as
favorite?
well.
Yeah.
Right.
They had a
Right.
better relationship or
And you
whatever
have
it
to
is.
get it through HR.
Exactly.
Exactly. Which is
And your
never
company
guaranteed.
has tiers, right? So they're I mean, we do too, salary caps, but
Yeah.
it's not as structured where we are, but I think at a bigger tech company, you have more rules and red tape around who can move up when and
Big
how.
time.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So we luckily had someone who was ready for a promotion, deserving of a promotion. And so
Mhm.
we were able to make that work on the back end. I will say from my side, from my team, I
Mhm.
think people might have been like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
interesting. But more people than not reached out and said, I totally understand.
Good.
That's great.
See, we need to hear this.
I also work with a lot of women and
Yeah.
women who have children.
Yeah.
So I think that made sense to them, and it was probably something they might have been thinking as well. But
Yeah.
everyone was supportive. But I
Yeah.
do think it comes back to that fear of, oh, why is she doing that? And I,
Mhm.
as someone who a little self-conscious here and there, and like again, that mentality of keep going, keep going, keep
Mhm.
going, it is a little
Mm.
scary. But I will say the older I get, the less
Amen.
I
Yes, you
care
Amen.
about that perception.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like I'm going to be happier
Yeah.
in this new
Mhm.
capacity. This is
Yeah.
success for me.
Thank God. And you did it. You
Yeah.
did it. I mean, it is such a big step because that feels very, very scary. And so was your team surprised too with your
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I knew it.
Definitely. There was just this awkward time
Mm.
where it was like probably a month where
Yeah.
performance evaluations were going on with HR. We
Woof.
kind of knew we were individually, I knew I was stepping back. I couldn't tell my team till it was done because the other person had to get promoted. So a little bit of awkwardness there. And then I would have to tell them. The other thing, this is just like a bit of humor, I guess, is that at work, Kate and I's work overlaps a little
Okay.
bit. We're not on the same teams.
Okay.
We don't have the same managers or anything, but people I wouldn't say no, we're friends,
Mhm.
which we kind of like.
Mhm.
We don't
Yeah.
necessarily want
Yeah.
people to realize how good of friends we
Yeah.
are and that our families are friends, we're very
Right.
close. But when this happened,
They
there
started to figure it
well, you're like, well, but
Yeah.
then you're like, but no, you don't get it. We
Yeah.
surprised each other as well.
Yeah.
No,
They totally
that's
got
so
it.
true.
I think my manager said, "Oh, well, I think someone else in my
no.
Yeah.
is considering," and I was like, "Oh," and I was just like, "Oh, yeah, no, I don't know." And then same with
Yeah.
Kate's manager
Yeah.
saying that, and
Your
having
your
to
poker face is
Yeah.
10
play it
out
off a bit, just
I got
because.
one.
That's pretty good.
I had to flat out tell my manager. I said, "We did not plan this.
Yeah,
Like
I
this
mean,
was true. I had no clue."
yeah,
Yeah.
we're not
We're-
gonna go
Right.
off on a yacht together or
Right.
something,
Like,
and
we're,
quit
like,
our
sitting
job.
down. Like, what
But
are
if
you
you do,
gonna
I'm
say?
coming, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think while my team was surprised, in reality, I had 3 parental leaves within
Mhm.
4 years,
Yeah.
3.5 years. So I knew they were going to be fine.
Yeah.
I think I was always their safe space. I always
Yeah.
came back and they came back to me.
Yeah.
And so I had to be like, but guys, you know what?
They were probably so sad though. You're such a go-getter. I can
They're
only imagine.
really great people. And
Yeah.
so now I just get to work with them
Yeah.
instead of manage them, which is kind of
Was that
strange.
kind of hard for them to shift? Did you find team members still coming to each of you about some management stuff or like, how does this work? Can you help me with the referral? Or did any of that happen or did they kind of get it and just backed off?
I would say for me, it's been kind of a mix.
Yeah.
I'm very friendly. I'm friends with the woman who's managing my old team,
Okay.
and I look to her
Yeah.
kind of as a peer. I had looked to her as a peer
Yeah.
before, so she and I still collaborate on things.
Okay.
I do think it's interesting, and would love Nuri's opinion. I truly, our company, I think, got like it's a win-win for
Mhm.
them, right? They get 2 senior people who
Staying on.
probably in our old roles were underpaid,
Right.
taking a step, a salary cut to
Yeah.
come down to an individual contributor role. So I think
Mhm.
for me, when I am approached for things
Mhm.
that I'm like, well, that would have been my old role,
Mhm.
right? You have to kind of put that boundary in place.
Yeah, like,
right?
no,
For sure.
my pay grade.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You need to go to the right
Right.
person.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
It's great. How freeing.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, and I don't like to be that person that's like, oh, it's not really my problem anymore, but
But it is.
But you're
Someone
getting paid
else's,
less,
right?
and
yeah, exactly.
you have probably. I'm
100%.
assuming you also cut back hours too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
part
You
of
have
it.
less time
Yeah.
in your day to deal with stuff like that. So
Yes. Like
makes
Good
sense.
for you.
Not
these
me.
are my priorities now. I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
tell
Right.
you what I think, but I'm not going to take that on. And so it is. I don't know. Got to set the boundaries.
Yeah, I feel the same. Where I really, really felt the difference is in September when it was time for another round of performance evaluations.
Mm.
And at our company, and I'm sure all
lot
really large
of performance.
it
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
performance evaluation is
Mhm.
exhausting. It is
Yeah.
weeks and weeks and weeks. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be. These are people's careers. This is,
Yeah.
serious business. But oh my gosh, how happy were you not to be doing them?
So
Not to be sitting in the calibrations, not to be writing all the
Mhm.
peer evals,
Yeah,
not to be
right.
fighting,
Right.
stack ranking people,
Right.
especially right now in tech. It's
Yeah.
a bloodbath.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so that was really, really freeing.
Yeah.
And just to not have someone else's career on my shoulders,
Mhm.
like I said before, I mean, my kids deserve 120,000% of my emotional capacity right now. And someone else's career and life is too important to get 1% of what I can give. And that's what they would have gotten.
Right. And so how long have you both taken a step back?
I think it was official for me in May, June.
Okay. We're in
Yeah.
October for
Yeah.
anyone watching this down the road. So we've
Yeah.
had a few months. You've
Yeah.
found that you've had a good summer. Had a good run.
Yeah.
Feeling good about it. Was it I'm sure it was a little weird the first few weeks of like
Yeah, just transition type
Yeah.
stuff, like
Yeah.
transitioning one-on-ones and stuff like that.
What
Like,
was-
great?
What was probably like the hardest hurdle once it actually set in, your hours were less, pay was less. What was like the biggest thing you think that affected your life in general? Good or bad, both?
Mm. I will say, even though I managed great people, there was a sense of dread when it came to one-on-ones, not all the time, but again, I just sometimes would be like, hype myself up.
Yeah.
Like I gotta
Yeah.
get there
Yeah.
because they're
Gotta
gonna
show
talk
up
to me about
prepared.
XYZ and
Yeah.
I need to be there for them for that, and a lot of time the project-based stuff that they needed me for, I could be there for because I could compartmentalize that work,
Mhm.
but it was that more career trajectory, hard conversations that
Yeah.
they were looking for their manager to speak with that I couldn't get there. I just couldn't get there this year. And I am typically good at those things. So maybe in the future I will be able to get there again.
Yeah.
And that would be great and be fulfilled by that. But not dreading those afternoon long one-on-ones with a
Right.
bunch of people and then having to report.
Yes, less
Yeah.
yes, and just less obligatory work. You know what I mean? Like I feel more in control of my schedule now where I am gonna block my Monday morning if I don't have
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I can focus now. I don't
Yeah.
have to spend 6+ hours in
Yeah.
one-on-ones and then 7 other things that are crisis management.
Yeah, you're managing up, you're managing
yeah.
down, and you still have the company day-to-day work. So
Yeah.
you were able to pull back on all of that. That's
Yeah.
really helpful. And then your home life,
Yeah.
did that feel like an immediate change?
I will say, Christian did say, you seem like a different person.
Okay, that's good.
Which
I mean,
like
maybe like, wait a minute.
maybe a good thing. I didn't realize like how snappy
Yeah.
maybe I had become.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely felt a weight lifted,
Yeah.
and I think more of it for me was more like I've been thinking about this for a long time
Yeah.
and just did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Christian's more thought process was like, and this is so male, right? And I'm sure Benny's too was just more like, if you've been thinking about it this long,
Yeah.
you already know the answer
Yeah.
needs to
Yes.
happen, and then you did
Your
it. And so
instinct,
he
you
was
got
just
it.
like, what,
Yeah.
what this
Why
was
didn't you do this?
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because being snappy, or not even that Kate was, but it's like,
No, I was
it is not worth that. It's
So
not
snappy.
like, it just wasn't worth what she was putting into it.
Right.
I
Right.
don't know how else to
Right.
say it, but Kate was giving, 1,000% to these people, and it just wasn't, she wasn't getting
Right.
anything from that
Right.
Right.
except money.
Exactly.
Right. And so at some point, is the money worth damaging your relationships? When it goes on for a long time, you start
Yeah.
thinking, okay, this is when my kids are most formative, and
Yeah.
I've been a bitch for 6 months.
Yes.
At some point you do say, okay, has it been a bad day or has it been a bad 6 months?
Right.
So I think that's
Yeah.
also just something
Yeah.
you have to
Do you
think
think your
about.
kids have noticed a difference? I mean, they're too little to express that, but does it seem like your evenings are smoother? Does it feel like there's a shift there with the kids?
Not really.
Okay.
No. And I think too, I probably was taking more of my stress out on Christian because I'm like, still got to turn it on for the kids. I don't want
Yeah.
him to pick up on this, but like, you understand where I'm coming from,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, you can be
No, you
stressed.
give
and, like,
everything to your kids. I
Yeah.
all the time will say, my kids get all of my patience. You don't get any. So,
Right.
so be nice and do what you need to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the kids are too little to understand, to know the difference. They also probably don't remember that we're snapping at them realistically. Yours are a little older. Yours might now. Maybe.
She's like, they told me.
Yeah. Yeah.
They remind me.
But I think, I don't know. I don't know that they can really understand. I was just curious if you could feel a difference in how. But if you're still kind of working thing, I don't know. It's just such a big change, and it's only been a few months, so it might need more time. But
I notice a difference. Like
yeah,
I pick up my son transition schools in August, and his school ends at 3 o'clock.
yeah,
And that is
it's
not,
brutal.
and I work with a bunch of people
Yeah.
at San Francisco time.
Yeah,
And there is no way in March or whatever, I would have been able to end my day at 3 o'clock to go get
Right.
my kiddo, and
That's
then
huge.
go get my other girls at 4.
right.
And now I just do.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
sometimes that means, of course, I need to make
Working
up those
later.
hours or whatever, but I have more autonomy over my own schedule, and it allows me to not be so stressed when I'm making dinner and I have 3 Velcro children at my feet, whatever. But
Yeah.
because I don't feel like my Slack is going off with all my direct reports that I need to answer to because I owe them that.
The word
Yeah.
Slack just gave me.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I notice a difference, and so I know they do too. Because
Right.
frankly, and one thing I told my manager
Mhm.
and my skip level, because what happened with my official transition was we had spoken about it a couple times, and then basically one day HR contacted me and was
Oh,
like,
interesting.
"Hey, it needs like today's the
Okay.
day, yes or no?" And I was like, "Whoa, okay."
Yeah, that is something we didn't talk about.
Yeah,
that's
wait,
a
kind of-
similar situation.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that feels like
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
yeah.
It kind of was like
So-
supportive, great manager. And then all of a sudden it was like HR contacted me and was just like, "Hey, here's the pay cut,
Yeah.
yes or no by end of day." And I was like, "Wait, well, that also means that a bunch of people know that I've been considering this." So then
That's what I
We
want to
didn't
know.
mention
So,
that.
kind of,
Yeah.
so okay, so you had the conversation each of you with your manager. The manager says, "You think on it, or I'm taking action, and I'm gonna escalate this." Like, how did
I
you
think
leave
both of
it?
our managers were probably like, "We'll keep talking about this roles and responsibility wise. Now it's my job as a manager to go figure out how this is doable."
Okay,
At
so
an
you
HR
knew the
level.
conversations were kind of happening, but then no one gave you your manager didn't give you any kind of like, "Hey, this went to HR. You're gonna hear from them." No warning.
Yes and no,
Okay.
right?
Yeah,
Like I
right.
think I knew they were taking it to HR, and
Yeah.
my manager specifically was like, "Okay, if we go down this path," because I kind of had two options because she wasn't clear totally on like how it would work. One,
Okay.
do you become a contractor? Two,
Yeah.
do we swap roles with someone and you become an individual
And
contributor?
were you open to either of those?
I was open to both. I thought I would make more money as a contractor,
Right.
but
And you could
who
go on
knows?
Christian's health insurance.
Eh,
There was a way to
yeah,
do that.
it
Yeah.
would have worked out.
Yeah.
But she was my manager was very specific of like,
Yeah.
listen, this is what the salary would look like for
Yeah.
this. Are you sure you're okay with it? But I will say when that HR email came and you see the number, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is still what I want.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And you had to make
definitely-
a quick, they tell you the same thing, like
it was
end of
yeah,
day.
it was similar. Yeah.
Yeah, and what happened with mine is then my skip level.
What does that mean?
My manager's manager.
Okay.
Slacks me and is like, "Hey, hop on a Zoom with me. We need to discuss." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay."
I didn't know that.
And he
Yeah.
basically was like, "Look, this is what I'm hearing. This is what you want to do. So
Yeah.
it sounds like you need to do it because if you like basically, not that he was threatening, but I wouldn't say he was overly supportive, but he was just like, look, if you don't want to be doing these things, then, I did feel a little
Yeah.
bit threatened. Like, well, gosh,
Mhm.
now if I say no, I
He's gonna
feel like
question
he
your
knows,
performance.
yes,
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
have this like,
100%.
yeah,
Yes,
like
it's like
a spotlight
That's
on me.
pressure.
Okay, so let's say we have a listener out there who's thinking about doing this. Would you advise her, don't have the conversation until you already have an idea? Yes, this is what I'm going to do. Yes, this is my number. Yes, I'm prepared for worst case scenario. What would be your advice to someone who's considering this?
Yes.
Yes.
And for example, my manager had a number at one point,
Yeah.
and then when they came to me that day and said,
Yeah.
"Here," it was a different number. It was a high.
Oh.
It was the pay cut was higher, and so then I was like, "Well, no, I'm not ready." And so then when my
Okay.
skip level was like, "Well, you have to decide because basically I know that you don't want to do all this stuff." I'm
Right.
like, "Well, the number is different."
Right.
That was a little bit of a scary day.
Right.
Like scary is the wrong word because I'm lucky to still have a job,
Sure,
whatever.
it's
But
a
a lot of pressure, and I'm
role.
like, "Hey, my husband does not know this is happening like today.
Right.
We kind of have just like talked about it."
Right.
So, anyways, then HR went back and was like, "Okay, we'll come back to the original number,
okay.
and
Okay.
if we can do that, are you ready to do it?" So I literally called
Yeah.
my husband, who was also at work, and he just kind of reiterated
Yeah.
what he had said before, like,
Yeah.
"Do not come at me with I don't care about
Yeah.
the money. I care
Yeah.
about you. If that seems like
Benny, thank you for that.
and supported me, of course. And so then I was like, okay. And
Yeah.
so it was kind of the extra stress that led up to that, but
Yeah.
then the immediate relief of, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I said yes
It's
to it.
done.
Yeah.
Felt really good.
Yeah.
But then after that is when what we talked about earlier happened.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, but don't tell anyone. And
Right.
now we need to make sure that other people get
Yeah.
promoted.
Right.
Yeah.
And that then we have a,
Oh,
a
wow.
plan
Yeah, I would've figured
for
that was
your
done before.
report.
Right. 'Cause
No,
it seemed like
they
HR
were like,
was already
"Yes."
mapped out with all
Yeah.
this
Well, I
by
guess
the
just
time
with
we-
budgeting,
Yeah.
I mean, not saying our HR team is like
Yeah.
Right.
the best functioning
Yeah.
in the world.
They're
or
not
maybe,
gonna-
they,
No,
they
I
do
never
hard
will.
things.
No,
Yeah,
HR
they
does.
do
Yeah.
hard things.
Yes. Yeah.
But the advice that I would think about is,
Yeah.
and this is hard, but you might want to go to HR first and just say, what would the pay look like? Or do
Yeah.
your research within your own company of
Yeah.
how much that role
Yeah.
makes. Because if that's a
Sure.
number that you cannot
Yeah.
feasibly do with your family,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but you need to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah,
At
and
most companies,
and the
you
HR
know.
conversation's tricky. I would be careful with how I positioned that, and I would go in, and it depends on your role because HR won't necessarily release numbers to
Right.
anyone. If you're a
Right.
manager, you can go in and say,
Yeah.
I may need to hire for this role or make an adjustment. Can you confirm
Yeah.
the range for me for this role?
It's definitely tricky because I
Mhm.
think I thought about this too of like it probably is best to go to HR first, but I also just know in dealing with HR,
Yeah.
I mean it's protect the company.
Yeah,
So if an
exactly.
employee is going to HR, they're immediately going to come to me and say, "Hey, this person told me
Yes.
this and came to me about this." So I knew my manager is not going to appreciate that. She
Right.
and I are friends. I need to come to
And
her as a
yeah,
friend
and
of like
it sounds like she had felt a good responsibility to doing
for
right.
sure,
Same
like
with
very
us
lucky
too.
in
Yeah.
that situation. But I do think someone who's considering this, like for sure,
Mhm.
if you have a partner or someone you share income with,
Yeah.
have to have that conversation and
Right.
be prepared for whatever that might look like.
Yeah.
Because I think you can approach this conversation with
Yeah.
hopes of making it work.
Yeah.
But the reality is that your manager might say, great, but the company might say, sorry,
They
we can't.
they
So
can't make
you're
it
out.
work or they have a different
Yeah.
number.
And
Like,
now we know that you're
yeah.
not happy. So
Right. That,
Yeah,
right. That
that's
is
scary.
a
Yeah.
part. And that's the reality of working for,
yeah.
a big
any company.
Yes.
But yeah, it's that there is a dance that you have to do.
big risk.
And
And you have to be prepared to leave.
Yes.
Like you have to I think you really do have to have your
You
worst
really
case
do.
scenario of
Agreed.
if I'm not making money or if it's not the same amount. How did that feel when the first paycheck hit?
I mean, we had been talking about it for a while,
Yeah.
but it's jarring. It's like
Yeah.
seeing that number on a piece of paper. For me, it was a 25%
Oof,
reduction.
yeah.
And so for Christian and I, it was more of like, oof, yeah, let's switch that direct deposit for daycare
Yeah,
over to you.
right, yeah.
So it was shuffling a few things around.
Yeah.
And he and I talked, one of my biggest
Yeah.
fears, like I don't like feeling like I'm not contributing
Right.
financially, or I don't like feeling, oh my gosh, I need you to pay for this.
Yes.
Right. But like, it's
You need
our
a sense of
money.
control
But
too.
yeah,
of
so
saying it.
that's
Yeah.
still an adjustment. Even now, working
Yeah.
through some of that, but it's more in my head
Yeah.
Yeah.
than anything.
Fair though. I think that's actually really healthy. Right. And I also there's a part of me that's like, these two women are so high quality, so high achieving. And to take a pay cut versus just taking the role, it's like, I get it on paper, but that's such a struggle for me because it's not like your value and your contribution really has changed that much. Like you're not doing the management one on one, sure, but you're
Yeah.
still working at the company, still in the same team, still contributing.
Mhm.
There's a part, just being honest, there's a part of me that's offended that they would still do 25% is a lot to cut
It is.
back.
It is. And I will say too, in a role where I think in my previous role,
Yeah.
I was underpaid as well. So
That's what
I think that's like part of it, that realization. And
Yeah.
it is interesting. I don't know what I want to do next. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure
Okay.
people management is not the path that I want to take. But I also in this conversation, Nuri is an amazing like
Yeah.
leader and
Yes.
people
It's very
management
natural
professional.
for
Like
you,
it does
yeah.
feel like you'll move back into that path at some stage. But being in this space now where I can just focus on projects that I'm interested in, I think
Yeah.
that was part of it for me of I am not learning anything. I don't know what I want to do next. And
Mhm.
so not learning anything, not knowing what I want to do,
Mhm.
I almost feel trapped, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so having that glimmer of, oh, I actually really like doing this program management work
Yeah.
that I had been doing. It was
And
interesting.
now I've learned how
Yes.
I have the time and capacity to learn how to do it better or
Yeah.
Exactly.
differently or with
Exactly.
new technology available to me
Yes.
that before there's no way I could spend the
Right.
extra time even digging into
Yes.
that side of things
Right.
because all my
It
time
was like
is
damage
spent.
control. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, damage control and management takes a lot of time. It
Yeah.
really does take just managing people is not an
Yeah.
easy, no matter the size of the team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think too, I mean, speaking of pay cuts, like when it was the day where they were kind of like, hey, the decision needs to be made. I said something that, I wouldn't necessarily recommend saying, but I was really frank and I was
Yeah.
like, look, if I'm getting X amount less money, I will be working X amount less.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I said it. Like
Yes.
I will be when I'm
Yeah.
signed off or when I don't answer a Slack for 4 hours because
Good.
I'm either not working or
Yeah.
because I am working and I don't
Mhm.
feel like being so reactive all the time.
Mhm.
And I do think about that
Mhm.
sometimes. I'm
Yeah.
just like, well, hey, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still very fairly paid and I'm very, very thankful to have a job for
Mhm.
sure in this economy. But, when it comes down to it, I'm going to work my job
Right.
and I'm going to
Set
do
the
a
boundaries.
great
Set
job at
boundaries.
that. I am a high performer
Right.
Yep.
and I want to continue to be a high performer, but that doesn't mean working all the time.
And it's
Yeah.
someone else's sense
not
of
the point.
urgency,
The point,
right?
like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you, and this is we don't have this on our list of questions.
Mhm.
Do either of you envision yourself? So I know you don't know what you want. It's hard to have a vision of something different from what you've known, but
You know what we need you to do? We just wait on Amanda to have an invention or a
Yeah,
company or
horizontal
something
thing. Yeah.
so that we can hatch, of course, so that we can hatch onto. Like, it is both Kate and I, Kate longer than me,
Yeah.
but we've both been at this company probably longer
Yeah,
than
like a
we can
decade, right?
imagine.
Yeah.
How long have
Yeah.
you been there?
7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's also that
I
could be
feel that.
Yeah.
19
I feel
over,
that.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a different podcast because the tenure thing and how companies treat people now, it's like we should
It changes.
it
though, so
changes. We
much.
should
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
that. But yeah, so I think that's could be twofold. That empowers you to feel comfortable having the conversations. You can set more of your boundary. But it also could I don't know, it could backfire too. Or hey, she's been here 7 years, she's burned out, she's got 3 kids. Maybe it's time to
Yeah.
get
And
something.
then you're all of a sudden like, whoa, the grass is not always greener.
Right.
And so I do try to remember that often. Both of us work full-time remote. We have huge benefits to working at the company that we work at. With all the BS and stuff that we complain about and still will.
Mhm.
But I think remembering that and then at some point,
Mhm.
where is that trade-off of like,
Right.
I'm ready to do something
Yes.
new. I'm
Yeah.
ready to trade in the what I do know, the devil I know
Right.
for the unknown and
Right.
for
Yeah.
something more risk averse, whether
Right.
it be financially or risk averse with your time. Maybe I will have to work more. Maybe I will have to work more nights
Yeah.
or weekends, or I will have to trade in being a room mom. I can't
Right.
be a room mom, or I am going to have to
Yeah.
disappoint my
For
kid. No
sure.
lunch buddies this week or
Right.
whatever. When that's
Yeah.
gonna happen, I don't know.
I know.
Because you both could easily I say this and I completely mean this. You could take on the company you run now and run it. Like you both have that drive, that dedication, the work ethic, the brain power. So it's exciting to think that you're gonna take the step back, focus that on the family, because that's where it really needs to be. But then what happens?
I know. Do
Yeah.
you give yourself a certain amount of time
Yeah.
to do this and then say, okay, by this day, I need to go, I need to figure it out? Or
Yeah.
is this open ended?
Yeah, I think for me it's kind of open-ended.
Mm.
I really it's scary. I don't know what I want to do next. Like there are things that I'm interested. I just don't know what that is or how I want to move that forward. And I do think we're in a good situation now, or I'm in a good situation where, to Nuri's point, it is the work life balance. I think the
Mhm.
grass is not always greener. I mean, I know just from other friends who are looking for jobs now who have been leading huge teams but wanted, hone in on an individual role. They're getting the door shut in their face.
Yeah.
Job
You're
market's terrible.
overqualified. You're overqualified, but we
Right.
have this people leader role available. Which are you interested in that? And they're like, no,
Right.
I want
Something else.
something where I can focus in,
Right.
and that's just not possible. So
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for where I am right now, but
Mhm.
I don't have a timeline on it. I do think naturally as the kids get a little older, I'm going to have more time to kind of clear that headspace.
Mhm.
But we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like when we had our third, we knew the one timing thing that we have said, Benny and I, is you set yourself back 5 years, basically, every kid you have.
Mhm.
I'm not saying like
I feel that though. I feel especially
I
with the
aged
second
5 years
kid.
within a sec. Like,
Yeah.
Well,
we've
especially
been,
for women. Women,
Yeah.
see
like,
so much more.
yeah,
Yeah.
not always, there are unicorns out there who are
Yeah.
amazing and still grow their career, but also just time wise and priorities. I still say no to friends and
Right.
social outings and things a lot because my
Things
kids
have
are
to get
young
done.
and I'm not
Yeah.
missing bedtime or whatever, what's important
Mhm.
to me. And we kind of were like, traveling is still really hard and
Mhm.
expensive and this and that. And this is where the priority needs to be, whatever. And so, in my head, I always
Mhm.
think like when my youngest is 5, maybe my doors will open up a little more.
Mhm.
My kids will all be ideally in a,
Yeah.
Yeah.
a more expected school situation. I do feel like now that my oldest is in real school, I
Yeah.
don't necessarily have more time
No.
for him. So that's
Yeah.
been
That was my
reality.
thing. Like, you guys were talking about that,
Yeah.
thinking, oh, well,
Yeah.
you kind of have more time, but then you
Yeah.
kind of don't.
Right.
Yeah, so there is that, but I do think I am not as emotionally
Yeah.
exhausted or just physically tired.
Yeah.
With my oldest as Mingo, so there that happens where your brain
Yes.
Yeah.
hopefully makes a switch where you maybe have a couple years, before you hit
Yeah.
menopause. So we might get like
Yeah,
3
yeah,
good
yeah,
years
yeah.
in there of, like, where your brain function is
Yeah.
there and I have the drive
And the
to
yeah, the
towards the
energy
energy and the drive and the
play
excitement to
with
do
it,
that.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I think some of it comes down to too, obviously this is about work, but I have an amazing mom
Yeah.
and she
This
did
too. Yeah.
she did everything
Yeah.
as a parent growing up and as a mom
Mhm.
that I think a good mom should do. And the uh values that I have
Mhm.
are a lot because of that. And so I feel a real sense of importance. The most important thing I will ever do in my life is raise my kids.
Yes, and the
Period.
Super Bowl parenting years, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So
Yes.
critical.
You know what I say is the most important thing I will
Yeah.
ever do in my life is raise my kids. And unfortunately, that does cost money.
Mhm.
And so I also work.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's not to say I don't find value in other things and that
Right.
other things don't make me a better person either.
Mhm.
On the other hand, just a sidebar, my husband, his mom and his stepmom worked every day
Yeah.
through their parenting years and are incredibly hardworking moms and are great moms.
Right.
And it's been amazing for us.
Yeah.
I have 3 like moms in my life that I've gotten
Yeah.
to witness who one has owned her own business as a physio for
Right.
decades. One has been a CEO at a company
Mhm.
as decades. And
Yeah.
then my mom was in and out of the workforce, but mostly a stay-at-home mom. And
Yeah.
all 3 are amazing moms in different
Yeah.
ways in their own right. And so there's a lot of different pathways you can
Yeah.
take, but I do feel like because I have my mom as a role model, that
Yeah.
is where my personality goes because I have seen how influential the hard,
Yeah.
it's hard work raising
Yeah.
us kids, and she
Yeah.
really took that to heart. And I feel a pull there
Yeah.
for me personally.
Yeah, it's what you knew. It's
Yeah.
how you grew up. My mom
Yeah.
was a stay-at-home mom too. So have the sense of guilt. But again, I can barely get through a weekend.
I
Like
know. I know.
it's for the best
That-
for my kids.
Yeah,
I'm
yes,
working.
100%.
I also want to say though, I think also, we're talking about doing it for the families. Obviously, yes. I think it's the most important that you're doing it for yourself, right? And your families benefit from that because
Yeah,
you're not,
sure.
in a good place. But I think it's really healthy to take this stand and to be brave enough and to do this, especially as a woman. I think we just put so much pressure on ourselves for things to look a certain way, but to take that step back, make the plan, and then just commit to it is huge. So I hope you both feel really good about it. Really, you should feel very proud of yourselves, not to be cheesy, but it's such a big deal that you've done this. And I know women are talking
No,
about
I
this and
wish I.
I know, I know. We just did
Yeah.
Katie's divorce episode. One day. Yeah, one day. We're working on an early retirement plan for Katie.
I love that.
Yeah, so I do think we should do some follow-ups on different ways that this could look, how you could
Yeah.
take a step back,
For
because
sure.
Yeah.
the other thing that's happening, and I'm feeling this too, is the number that I've always thought I needed to achieve to, the salary, the money, doesn't it's not that isn't it anymore. I just don't care the same. Like we have a small footprint. I don't buy designer thing. Like I don't need it. And so what does that really need to look like to be happy? And that
Mhm.
opens up so
Yes.
many opportunities, right? The jobs can look different. You can take more time off, contract, whatever that is, but
Yeah.
it's very, very freeing. And it's something that always seemed very scary and like, I would never do that. And now, having the second kid and then watching you two do it, I'm
Dang.
"Mm,
I want to do
I
it.
want that. That's nice." Is there anything else that you would want to tell anyone who's considering this?
I mean, I will say, from my perspective, I'm very privileged in order to be able to do this. So you
Cool.
have to have a supportive partner
Mhm.
or money saved. It's just, I know it's not possible for everyone. And I also know the problems that we're talking about, they're not unique in
Mhm.
any way, but it's more of, I guess, looking inward at yourself of like,
Mhm.
am I happy? What do I need to do to make myself happy? If it's taking a step back or moving into something different, just
Right.
say it out loud and
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
that's
make it a reality.
Yes.
yeah, I mean, this is the marketing side of me coming out. So this might be a little cheesy because I honestly think this might have been like a brand tagline of ours at some point. But
Don't give it
if
away.
you are ever in this situation, I have felt a large sense of power come back to me when I started making work for me.
Ah, yeah.
And like, I
Mhm.
think that is kind of where you can start thinking, what are the options? What
Mhm.
are the different ways that this can fit in my situation? Because to Kate's
Mhm.
point, we are very privileged and very lucky. And my problems are champagne problems for
Mhm.
sure. But I also think be creative in how you can make work for you
Mhm.
to still reach your goals and your values outside of work if that's a priority for you, or in work. And then the other thing that Kate and I had to remind ourselves many times throughout this is not forever.
Right.
We
Yeah.
are, in the
Yes.
grand scheme of things, we are very young.
Yes.
And it doesn't feel that way always.
Mhm.
But,
Yeah.
just because we took a step back,
Mhm.
that doesn't
Yes.
mean I'm not going to work my ass off to take
Mhm.
a step forward in the future.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But right
Exactly.
now, this is what works for me and how I can show up best to the most important people in my life.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
feel like I encourage everyone to try and figure that out for themselves.
Yes. I love that. Thank you both so much.
Yes,
This was
thank
great.
You.
Nice
Yeah.
to meet you guys.
Yeah. Great. All right. And we will follow up, like I said, we always do. lessonexpert.com. We'll have some show notes on there, some resources. And I think we'll do a follow up on how this could work if you don't have dual incomes and how you
Yeah.
can take a step back. So,
Cool.
more to come. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to this podcast.